Hey, it's Grammy Award winning recording artist Maya, and you are now rocking with the B side interviews with your host, Slick Young.
Tell us something that we don't know. Yeah. Hoodie down out the way with it. I be in the cut, I'm like a blade with it. Same critic still playing with him with the same vision, had to stay with it. Face grinning through the rage, feeling I was made different. See the pain and it was engraved in it for me young and see the money coming double up and running. Ain't nobody running.
What up, world? You got now tune in to another episode of the B-Side Interviews. I will say I'm your host, Slick Young, but you already know that. I got the team with me. New season, bigger everything. Miss Reality, Ground Beef Washington, Christopher Evans, and today's special guest, right? Let me tell you about this. I've been trying to work with this special guest for a while now. Some people you see from the bottom. I actually heard a story once of how Vincent Herbert discovered Lady Gaga, and I was like, you know what? I want to be able to discover somebody, and not necessarily discover, be on a train before I get going. So without further ado, I'm gonna let him introduce himself.
What's going on with y'all? Pleasure to be here. I'm honored. Thank you again for having me. My name is Jay. I'm an artist out of Salt Lake City, Utah. We're from the Bay Area, and I'm just excited to be here and share a little bit of my truth with y'all.
Man. So I guess I can go first. My first question to you is, how has everything been with everything that's going on in this world? Or I'll say America particularly.
It's a learning experience. So if we want to go prior COVID, you know what I mean? Everything that was happening, everyone's kind of going through the same motions and whatnot. And now you're seeing pretty much, in my eyes, it seems like a new world is being birthed. And especially here in America, everything surrounding police reform and the political atmosphere that's happening with COVID-19. And then now you're seeing it affect artists and so many different people on a different level. So with that being said, and being a father myself, this time has definitely been a learning experience, a lot of unlearning as well. So that's what it's been for me. It's been a lot of learning and unlearning and healing and taking note of certain things that I didn't notice before, and that's even on an internal level and also on a collective level as well. Just kind of looking at the world that we're living in now and how do we integrate this? How do we adapt? How do we move in this new normal, so to speak? And so a lot of learning and a lot of unlearning as well. So that's how it's been for me, brother.
Amazing. So why don't you tell us who are some of your musical influences?
We want to go from the beginning. I got Hove, Jay-Z, Tupac, Lauryn Hill, Bob Marley. Now, these are just kind of a taste of what I grew up listening to. These are a lot of the different messages that I was absorbing. And so those were a lot of the early influences. Tupac is just, it speaks for itself. You know what I mean? That type of devotion and that voice for people. Lauryn Hill kind of taught me how to process my heartbreak. I feel like Lauryn Hill was a lot of that for us, right? She taught me how to process emotions in a way, and from a younger age. Jay-Z taught me how to process my intellect. That's kind of how I admired a lot of how he moved in the business. And so in terms of entrepreneurial movement and how to establish yourself as a powerful being in this game, Hove was somebody I really looked up to. And so those were the early influences. Now, more recent influences, I'd be lying if I didn't throw in, I'd be a fool not to throw in the Lil Waynes and the Drakes and the Kendrick Lamars and the J. Coles, because these were cats who came around in a time of my life where I was still getting, coming to grips with a lot of my identity. and seeing how they went about their journey, specifically Kendrick. Let's kind of hone in there. He taught me in a way, kind of seeing the world through his lens kind of influenced me, and it taught me how I can process information differently and how I can kind of utilize my environment to tell my story and to really hone in on the factors that have really altered my psyche. So I don't mean to go off too much on a tangent, but in terms of influences, those are some of the influences that I kind of looked at, and they've kind of helped me mold and hone the being that I am today in terms of artistry and in terms of how I express myself.
So that's amazing that you say that. I just recently read an article on you, and it talked about comparisons to Kendrick and J. Cole. How does that, hearing people write about that, how does that make you feel that these artists who have been influences, you're now being placed in categories similar to them?
It's flattering. It's very flattering. Anytime your name is had in this conversation, there's a lot of these greats and these famers. Yeah, so really I just feel flattered, but at the same time, I'm in a different space in terms of the artistry. It was more like, so if I were to look at it now, so let's take those same influences. Let's take the J. Coles and the Drakes and the Kendricks. And whereas before, they played as a North Star for me, how I can kind of make sense of my world. And so like, for example, in high school, that's when I really got into Drake and J. Cole and Kendrick and them. I was in a confused space. And so just hearing them kind of tell their stories and were able to organize their thoughts and how they made sense of the world, it helped ultimately allow me to make sense of my world. So in a way, I kind of use them to, in a way, they help me hone my voice. But I'm now at a stage where it's like, okay, now you got to find your own voice. You know what I mean? Because you can only pattern yourself after people for so long. It has to get to a point where, who are you? You know what I'm saying? What does Jay sound like? We can hear little bits and pieces of such and such, and you might hear a comparison to Kendrick or so-and-so, and that's beautiful, and that's all very flattering. I feel like I'm approaching that stage where I'm ready to kind of break away from that mold, and it's being comfortable with myself, being comfortable with being myself, and now you don't necessarily sound like such and such or such and such. You're starting to sound like yourself now. And so anytime you hear that kind of reflects a period of growth where you at, and that's where I am in my journey. Is I'm trying to really come into my own voice. And for so long, it's like, okay, it's Kendrick has influenced me this way. Cole has influenced me this way. Drake has influenced me this way. Now it's a reflection of where I am in my individual journey. I'm trying to just find who I am as a human being. And from there, that is changing the landscape of being an artist. It's changing the landscape of being a father. It's changing the landscape of being a lifetime partner to my woman. It's who I am, human being. That has changed. And so now, how I used to function and operate and used to move about in this industry and all has changed. I'm getting used to how I operate. And so not necessarily speaking through or seeing things through anyone else's lens, but now just reflect how it looks to me. So pardon me. Kind of elaborated a little too much on that, but yeah, that's the best way I can answer that.
Okay.
No, that's a great answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
A bunch of our artists who always say the toughest part, when they really became who they were, when they were able to become comfortable with sounding like themselves.
Yeah.
So you hear that all the time. So that's dope that you're already seeing that.
Appreciate it.
See that you're from, is it Long Beach or you're from California?
So I was born in Long Beach. I was born in
Long Beach, and you lived in the for a while.
Yeah, I was born in Long Beach and raised in Northern California. So
okay, and so how the hell did you get to Utah?
So, given the fact that so I moved out here to Utah end of 2011, and so that was a time in my life I was I was a family man. I still am a family man, but I was just coming into being a family man. At that time, I was working at a gym, and they were paying me minimum wage, and I had my second child on the way, and I was like 20. So that's how Utah, it was just like, all right, California is a little hectic right now.
Right.
And I made the move, you know, as a father and as a man at that time. I did what I had to do to kind of support my family, and it was a survival tactic. You know, that's kind of the world we've been living in for the however long. It's just people are trying to survive and adapting and doing things out of their comfort zone, and that's how a little Bay Area boy like me end up in Utah. So
Yeah, totally makes sense, man.
that's how that happened. It was a money move.
Yeah.
Really. But yeah, that's how I ended up in Utah. I've been here since the end of 2011. And that's one of those things where I've just had to adapt and learn the environment. And
It's different.
right, you know, it's definitely different. The pace is different. The atmosphere is different. But it works. We learn them, you know, we make it work. We're human beings, and that's one of our traits, adapt where we go. And that's how we yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's get into let's talk a little bit about how because within the last few questions you've talked a lot about family.
Yeah.
And, first of all, I want to shout out, you know, your girl, man. That's family. That's like family to me. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
How speak on being an artist and having someone been with a partner that's in the industry. How does you know what I mean? How does that help you? And what if there's any negatives? What are some of the negatives to it?
Oh, this is gonna be beautiful. It's gonna be fun. So prior to my partner and I meeting, so she's, as you know, she was in the radio industry, and prior to us meeting, I was already pushing the independent artist gig, and so I had familiarized myself for the past decade on the music industry in terms of being an artist. And so that means I got involved with publishing and learning how to copyright and, you know, distribution, and pretty much you had to become a label all on your own. And so when you take that knowledge and then you combine it with someone else who has the knowledge that they do on the radio industry, you're seeing how things work behind the scenes. You're seeing how people network, what works and what doesn't, what gets you places and what doesn't. So having someone in the industry who has that experience, it definitely it can benefit in a very positive way if you know how to use what's being presented. And not only that, for both of us coming together, we're both very headstrong. And so it's like she has her way on how she deals with things, and then I have my way on how I deal with things. And I'm like, well, I see it like this, and she sees it like that. So if there could be some major benefits to it, you know, you become an unstoppable force. You become what they call the power couple. You know, these are power couple goals or something like that. But that also comes with a lot of difficulty. That comes with learning you have to know yourself when you merge with someone who's that powerful. And the woman that I'm with is extremely powerful. And so you have to learn that in your partnership. You have to learn that in your chemistry. And so that means learning how to put your pride and your ego aside sometimes, and finding the best way on how you approach things. And so that's been one of the major benefits is I have a more full, well-rounded understanding of how things work in the industry. But at the same time, it doesn't come without its challenges. You know, it's a learning experience. And like I said, it just comes down to that human being aspect on, all right, now, how are you carry yourself in this partnership? How you carry yourself in you have, you know, are there certain things that might come up in this chemistry or in this partnership that might taint who you are individually? There's a bunch of things that can come into there, but for the most part, in terms of the music and what we've been able to do on a professional level, it's been beautiful. Being able to work with somebody who understands not only what you're trying to do in terms of a business aspect, but they understand you as an artist as well. And so that's the balance we play in this game, is you have to learn how do you not compromise your art, and how do you not compromise who you are as an artist, but at the same time, you know how to maneuver through the business. You know how to play the game, and you know how to knock on the doors and those things. And so that's been some of the major benefits of being with somebody who has that experience, is we've been able to strike a very good balance in that aspect. So
that's excellent.
Hopefully
Let me just
elaborate at this point, but
no. We appreciate it all. It's really actually refreshing. You know exactly. You don't know the questions that we're asking you. So when you said that you're at this place where you are, you know who you are, and now it's time to present that, is very clear in how you answer the questions that we ask you, that you're just in tune with who you are. So we actually appreciate that.
That's really cool.
Thank
I'm
you.
impressed.
Yeah.
You gotta be what, like 20, 28, 29, That's kind of a profound mindset at that age.
Yeah.
When I was 28, 29.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I
It's
definitely wouldn't
all
be in that
learning.
mindset.
We all learning, and I appreciate it. I'm grateful to be in the company of those who are just trying to improve upon themselves.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Absolutely. So did you have a plan A outside of music, or a plan B? So what I mean by that is, if you weren't a musician, did you have something else that you had thought about pursuing?
Nope.
Okay.
No. I was one of those kids who just grew up. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew everything I didn't want to do. And so, I don't know, call it rebellious, call it whatever, independent, anything. But I grew up in a household where Pops was a breadwinner, and he always owned his own businesses. And so kind of growing up, I just witnessed the whole entrepreneurial mindset from early on. And so that was embedded into me and all of my siblings. And so every time you would ask me what I wanted to do, I didn't really have a direct answer. I can tell you I wanted to be a doctor or an engineer or whatever, just because of the brain that I had, in high school and just growing up. I had a knack for a lot of brainiac kind of things. And, that's why my hairline is receding now. It's why I don't know, because there's too much going on up here. But there wasn't just knew I loved music, and I was always connected to not only music, but just art, anything in the artistic sense. I got lost, I got lost in the philosophy and history. I always loved studying the great Renaissance artists. That was who I was. And so art spoke to me, throughout my entire life. If there were a plan B, it would just be, I would just be an entrepreneur. I'd be a business owner. I'd probably be driving around delivering right now, because apparently that's where the money's at.
Right.
Oh, yeah, right.
Because prior to, like a few years ago, I had owned a small logistics business. And so just to drop that little fact in there, I had owned a little small delivery, owned and operated it. And I was contracted with out here. I did the whole business owner, hustle, and did that. And then I used that to kind of fund and supplement my aspirations with logistics. Got familiar with owning and operating a business. So if I weren't doing music, I'd probably be doing something else where I'm working on my own schedule and just being independent. So that would be the plan B.
Okay, so I have another question to go along with what you just said. You've always had or seen entrepreneurship growing up. So, sometimes up-and-coming artists, you hear that they may let go of all of the things that they're supposed to do, take care of family and things, work, bring in an income, just to pursue the music, but maybe they don't have guidance. What type of advice would you give someone to be able to be balanced in responsibilities versus, what they're aspiring to be?
Man. I guess that differs because everyone's life, I feel like being an entrepreneur at 29 is very different than an entrepreneur at like 19. So I guess a few things would just be to learn yourself And as vague as that may seem, it's like, well, how the hell that's supposed to help anybody do anything? Like, learn yourself. It's like Kanye talking to Kobe, right? Like, what the fuck does that mean? What does that mean? Bro? Like, what do you mean? That make no learn. Like, really, that's like just listening to your question. No, that's the biggest thing that's helped me is learning myself, because in learning myself, you learn your strengths and you learn your weaknesses. And so now when learning your weaknesses, you learn what you need to surround yourself with, the type of team you need to surround yourself with. If you're not good on social media, if you're not good with this or this or this, you need to build your team around that. That's kind of something that slowed me down. So when I was doing the entrepreneurial business owner thing and trying to do the music, what slowed me down was I was trying to do everything by myself. And yes, I'm capable of doing everything by myself, but should you do everything by yourself? That is the question. And it's that's when you start having to, okay, what kind of team members do I need around me? And then you get into trust issues, and you get into trusting the right people and being able to trust people's abilities and such. And so really what helped me in establishing that balance was learning myself, because I had to come to the realization that I couldn't do everything by myself, and that I could actually rely on my woman, or I could rely on another team member who actually specializes, or somewhere where something is my weakness that could be someone else's strength, And one thing I had to learn was getting over my own ego about that. I used to be, I can do this by myself. It was at a point where I was taking care of publishing and copywriting and distribution. And then at the same time, I was turning around and producing a song and then writing it and then mixing it, mastering it, and then taking care of all the legal work after. And now, like, that's just for one song. And it's like, that takes its toll. So for me, it came down to learning myself, learning where I wanted to focus a lot of my energy, where I should be focusing a lot of my energy. Now, as an artist, what I should be doing is just writing and doing creative things, because that's where my skill set is at, and now I'm learning how to let my partner take care of more of the business aspects, setting things like this up and networking and such. And so when you're doing the entrepreneurial independent thing and trying to get your music up, I think learning yourself has a big part to do with how, because then from there you can design a blueprint, a plan of attack on how you want to approach things, and it's a more effective plan. And so I know it might sound kind of vague when I say learn yourself, but really learning myself was what allowed me to get a realistic idea of not only what I wanted to do, but how I wanted to bring that into manifestation, and what type of people I wanted around me to help me bring that picture into full fruition. So hopefully
that wasn't vague at all. You're over here taking notes.
But really, that's what it was. It was a lot of learning myself, and I could sit here and be like, oh, well, you got to be consistent. Like, these are the things that kind of go without saying, you know what I mean? Like, for those of us who just hustle is nothing new, and so you don't really hear a lot of us who are in this point bragging about hard work, because it's normal. You know what I mean? It gets to a point where that's regular. It gets to the point where, yeah, I'm used to waking up at 6 a.m. and get breakfast ready for my girls in homeschool. And then after 2 o'clock or 3 p.m., I'm dedicating that time to sending out hundreds of emails, and then the indie artist stuff. And then you got to deal with, so it's like the balancing of this, and then all of the hard work and dedication that goes into being not only an independent business owner, but an entrepreneur or an independent artist. It's absolutely vital. That's the foundation on which you build your success. And you have to be able to dedicate your time. I treat it like a 9-to-5, really. It's gotten to that point, and it's like, okay, you don't want it to feel like work, but it doesn't feel like work. Is what's wild. I'll be up at like 2 a.m. in the morning trying to get graphic art done or cover art done. And I'll feel tired, but it doesn't feel like work. It's like, this is the life that I chose. And so if this is the life that you're going to choose, you need to understand this is what comes along. And in my, I just got a family that I got to balance out in the midst of all of the business things. And so got to wear different hats at different times. I got to be the dad now when I wake up, and, I got to give my woman the attention that she needs and make sure that that relationship is thriving, because then when these things are all The artistry stuff just takes care of it. The business stuff just takes care of it. Because the chemistry and the foundation of the home is in support of. Yeah, that's kind of where it's
Right.
Man, like I said earlier, I'm kind of blown away, man, because your thought process at this age, like I said, man, beef at hey, boy, I was out there doing something. But so, with all that's going on, we touched on it earlier about the sudden awakeness of America.
Yeah.
Say part of it's probably because of COVID, and people being at home, being forced to sit at home and scroll on the internet and see all of these videos and all of this injustice, things that we've been talking about as people.
Yes.
My lifetime, and I mean, hell, since we've been in this country.
Of course.
What do you think would be a first or second step to actually bring real change? You know what I mean? Like, they always give us the symbolic. They gave us the Civil Rights Act. They gave us.
It's always all.
We had the senators kneeling, wearing the kente cloths and shit. You know what I mean? But it didn't do nothing. Like, so what do you, like, one or two steps you think that could, start the change? Bring change.
I'll see this now. See, now the conversation can just go so many different ways, right? I guess for me, and I'm gonna just speak from. I'll try and stick to just what I've observed over the past, this year. I think, and more specifically, the Black community and the brown communities. I think what's happening with a lot of Black and brown communities is we're coming into a different awareness than we had before. And what I mean by, like, so for example, let's take the Black community. Let's start there, because why not? Because this is the conversation that's being had. The Black community, I've noticed, has just been in a toxic relationship with the world since the beginning. If you just kind of look at it, it's just like all of the historical events, the police brutality, you travel back to the 1600s prior, when slavery and the diaspora and the slave trade was all going on. It just seems like to me the Black community has been in a toxic relationship with the world and with white supremacy more. And so now what I see happening now is I see boundaries being established. And that's as somebody who's come out of a toxic relationship before, that's usually what you establish, right? You establish the boundaries coming out of a toxic relationship. This is what you can't do.
Right.
You can't say the N-word. You can't appropriate my culture. You can't do this. You can't do that. You notice in a toxic relationship, you come out of a toxic relationship, the first thing you do is lay down the ground rules. This is what you're not going to do anymore. That's part of the reclamation of power that's happening right now with the collective. You see that with a lot of the Black community and a lot of the brown communities that are starting to speak out. You're seeing the boundaries being set. And you're starting to see how white America or white supremacist America is reacting to that. Everyone's all caught off guard. What you mean I can't do this? What you mean I can't say this word? Y'all say it. All right, they ain't got shit to do with y'all. This ain't your people. This ain't your culture. And so what you're seeing is boundaries being set, and people not. And usually, if you've lived this in your life, when you set your boundaries with people, they start acting funny, right? They start. I used to be able to get away with this, and I used to be able to get away with that, and now no more. You're seeing that now. You're seeing it happen now. And so just a lot of the events, the riots, the protests, collectively, I'm just seeing boundaries being set. And that's the first step coming out of a toxic relationship is you need to make America acknowledge this is where you've wronged us. And not only that, you're going to acknowledge all the places that you've wronged us from the jump, from the get. Because that's what healing is. And if there's anything I've noticed that COVID has done, it has brought healing about. Why? Because people are stuck at home and you've taken away every part of their identity that they've attached their life to. You took away the routine. You took away the job. You took away the going to the gym at 6 a.m. in the morning. You took away every aspect of a person's identity, and now they're left with nothing but themselves. And that could be scary. That could be a scary thing. You know, you gotta come when everything is stripped from you and all you're left with is you enough. You know what I'm saying? Outside of everything you've attached your identity to, when all of that is taken away and it's just the essence of who you are, is that enough for you? You know, or do you need this or do you need that? Well, there's a lesson in there for everybody, right? But on the grand scale and just kind of looking at how the collective is shifting and how changes are happening in the world, like things that never happened before are happening. Unprecedented events. They're lighting police on fire in Mexico. Like, what? You ain't never heard no shit like that. It's like, what? They're lighting cops on fire. And the imagery of that is just it's a representation of the time now. You're seeing all of the old systems, all of the old oppressive systems are now crumbling. The way that we even vote now, you know what I'm saying? You look at politics on a grand scale, everything in politics is Washington is in shambles right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And here's the thing, that might be a good thing. It's exactly what we might need. And so I can look at answer this question from so many different perspectives, but really what I'm looking at right now is the change that we've been wanting to happen is happening. And I don't believe anybody else that tells you different, because they're just part of the problem. They're trying to tell you that it's not happening, or this is and this is going to be the new normal. Like, no, the new normal is going to be the normal that we choose to build. You're seeing that right now. You're seeing the people have more power than we've ever had before. Social media is a game changer, because now we can hold you accountable. Now we can do all of these. Not only that, we can educate ourselves. We can inform ourselves. And I'm seeing a lot of exchanges on social media. Yeah, there's a lot of BS on social media. We understand this. That's what it comes with. But if you are tapped into the right communities on social media, there's a lot of knowledge and wisdom that is being passed around that wasn't being circulated at the beginning of time. You know, a lot of the truth about how police have targeted Black and brown communities. A lot of the, you know, you seen what happened in Minnesota. As soon as that took place, you seen people started to yell, fund the police, this and this and this. And you seen some of the police stations actually followed suit. I want to say that was out of fear. I want to say it's because y'all don't want us digging into LAPD history, right? Y'all don't want us to do. If Minnesota's police department, if that's what their dirt looks like, can you imagine what NYPD and LAPD look like? Can you imagine what those files look like? Can you imagine what all of those untold truths sound like, and what kind of picture that would paint of our government? You know, and just in everything that we're dealing with now. So in terms of what's the first or the second step, I feel like it's happening right now. We need to acknowledge all of the atrocities that have happened. Because if I've learned anything about healing, it means you need to acknowledge everything that's hurt you. You need to acknowledge the things that have taken power from you. And right now, America is in that timeline. It's time for America to acknowledge all of the atrocities and the injustices that have been carried out against Black and brown communities. It needs to be acknowledged. You are not going to pass through this time. You will not go into this new world thinking you're not going to acknowledge what has happened, thinking that you're not going to acknowledge who's built this country, the blood that was spilled that built this country. And now you're seeing a lot of that happen. You're seeing more of the collective starting to be properly informed. You're starting to see more of these communities and more of celebrities using their platforms. You're actually seeing celebrities go out there and protest. You know, and these are unprecedented events. People are inspired. We're fired up. We're ready to go. You see it right now. All of the change that's happened in the past, this entire year, wouldn't have taken place without that. You know, and so in terms of what we're doing, I think we're doing exactly what we should be doing, and that's holding our government accountable. It's holding all of these oppressive systems accountable and pointing out all of the flaws and pointing out, this is where you've wronged us. This is where you've robbed us. This is where you've subjugated us to supremacy and to oppression and to all of these heartbreaking and horrific things that Black and brown communities have experienced in America since before America was America.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? There was slaves brought here before America was America. You know, before New York was New York, it was New Amsterdam, and they were already doing slave trades there. And here's the thing: this is history that this isn't taught in our normal curriculum. I had to learn this shit after high school. I had to go and dig up and research myself because I actually felt for the cause that much, and I had Black friends who I grew up with, and I said to myself, I want to understand you better. I want to understand how to help you better and how to help your people better. So if that means I need to stop saying the N-word, or I need to stop doing this, or I need to stop doing this and this and this, then that's what I need to do. But it came with informing myself first. And not only that, informing myself helped me learn and establish where those boundaries that we talked about before, you know, because when you learn who you are, you unlearn who you're not.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
It was like, you know, when you learn who you truly are, you unlearn who you're not. And so even though I have daughters who are mixed with Black and I grew up with people who were Black, I need to understand I'm not Black. That's just what it is. Does that mean I don't help Black people, or I'm not willing to help Black people, or not willing to sacrifice my platform or my well-being to help Black people? No. That just means I understand that this is who I am and I love you as a human being. And so if I say I love you as a human being, this is what the actions look like that align with loving you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And so right now it's just the awareness and the information, and just I love the energy that's happening right now. Yes, are there violence and stuff happening? Yes, there are. It is place, but we've never known a revolution in the history of man to, you know, and anytime change is coming out, it's going to happen in an abrupt way. This is just human nature, you know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean that's not action we shouldn't take, because right now we're finally starting to see some of the subtle changes that we've been harping on for years. You know, and even prior in this, a lot of the activism going on in the 60s and prior to, a lot of what they were marching for in that time is now finally coming into fruition. You know, and like at that time, they would love for us to be defunding the police and doing all of this, and we couldn't even get it. You know what I'm saying? And fast forward about 50 years or something like that, and here we are again, and now we're finally, folks weren't even aware that there was a dialogue to be had. You know, a lot of the world wasn't even aware of what was happening here in America, you know, in terms of police and what was going on with that system. And so it really, that's what it's, you know, the police have just protected, they've kept white America, so to speak, in a different region. And so and we've seen, even here in Utah, this is a red state, you know what I'm saying? As we've experienced some of the differences in the reality of what America's different people live. And so, yeah, I think what's happening right now is exactly what needs to be happening. Folks are learning who they really are, and that's the beautiful part about this, because now you see a lot more of the Black communities really tapping and learning their history. I'm seeing a lot of dialogue and conversation had online about, and it's just different energy I've never felt before. People are actually going out of their way to inform themselves and educate themselves, and it's a really beautiful thing, because now they're setting these strong boundaries with their identity. And that's what needs to happen, and that's part of the process of claiming your power, you know. And so, and that's as a result of the Black community in that direction, and kind of showing the rest of the world, this is how you break away from that oppressive system. We're seeing the benefits of that. You're seeing everyone else follow suit. I feel like we as the people are stronger than we've ever been, and we have we have more power than we've ever had. And I feel like we just need to accept that in the sense of doubting ourselves, doubting what we know, and doubting the world that we could have. You know, and a lot of folks want to go back to what used to be normal. And it's like, why do you want to go backwards? It's like, did you live in the world we lived before? Like, you want to go back to that? Like, we have an opportunity right now. We have a human opportunity to create a world that actually, it's the world that we want to live in, a world that is ruled by love, and a world is we can actually acknowledge each other, respect each other, and rock.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Boy, you are speaking some truth right now. Man.
What I want to do, I want to give you applause. I'm gonna tell you why I want to give you applause for two reasons. First reason is you like everybody's uncle that comes in and drops jewels on everyone. I give you applause for that because you came and dropped a jewel.
Oh yeah.
The second reason I want to give you applause is when I started doing this B-side interviews, everyone's always asked me, why did you title it the B-side interviews? And I come from the era of cassette tapes. And when you had cassette tapes, all the radio tracks were on side A and all the classics were on side B. Hey. This is classic. This is a classic today.
I appreciate it, man.
So I want to give you applause for that. Now, my question to you is, me being a failure artist, I was a failing artist, right? So I am familiar with you from your freestyles. Your freestyles you used to put on YouTube.
Yes.
You have a new project, right? I listened to the Freddy's interlude, and first of all, the title, Heal or Die. Heal or Die. That is deep, really deep. Give me the process of you being an artist and your process in making this project. Like from beginning to end, what was the process and why was it such that deep title?
So okay, let's get into it. So Heal or Die. So this Heal or Die is it's a synopsis. It's a collection of different events that have altered my life throughout the past decade. Excuse me. So I started making this album, I want to say end of February, and I was just coming out of a period of sobriety. And I had been sober for about 3 months going into making this album, and now Freddy's interlude. And so during that period of sobriety, a lot of things came up for me. Everything that I was suppressing, a lot of my fragmented identities and different parts of my life that I was too afraid to face sober came up for me in that period of sobriety. And so it was it was a deep process of healing, deep psychological healing, deep emotional, spiritual healing that took place in that time. And it came to a point where I had even questioned my identity in terms of who am I without my me. And so approaching everything with a sense of detachment in that stage kind of put me in a cold, dark place. And so coming out of that period of sobriety, that's what forged Heal or Die. It was literally everything that I was afraid to speak about, everything that I was afraid to acknowledge within myself, a lot of the past traumas and the past hurts that I just couldn't bring myself to come to grips with came out Heal or Die. And so when Freddy's interlude was made, if you listen through the song, it just sounds like a trip. The first two verses is very anxious, wherein the last verse is very detached, and I'm giving this outer perspective. It's pretty much just talking myself down from a ledge, so to speak. So in terms of the creative process for the entire album, I wrote and produced the album in a month. All of the tracks, and that was literally because I came out of that period of sobriety, and I was ready to let go. I was ready to let go of a lot of things that were holding me back, a lot of my traumas and a lot of my pain. So that's what came out or Die. The creative process itself, that writing process, it was the most excruciating thing I had to put the actual writing process or Die. Now, in terms of, it was difficult and excruciating in the sense of just having to live all of these different experiences, have re-experienced all of these very traumatic events was the most difficult thing I had to face. And I think for like that entire, I think it was a 2-week writing process. That entire 2 weeks I had cried. I cried the whole damn time. I cried the entire time I wrote. I couldn't even bring myself to record sometimes because I couldn't get through verses. I couldn't get through some of the material. That's how deep I had to dig dig for those, to dig for that strength. And so the creative process was excruciating because it was me just coming to terms with a lot of my pain that I was ready to coming to terms with a lot of the traumas that had shaped me. And so this was part of my reclamation of, you know, it was part of me reclaiming and making peace with a lot of those demons, you know, and you know, a lot of artists talk about, you know, you got to face your demons up and such. And, you know, we all got our own demons. This was a time where it wasn't even a point of eradicating those demons or getting rid of them, but it was more so, it was time for me to have a conversation with these different demons and to understand them, to hear where they came from, to hear why they were created, and, you know, what part of my psyche did those demons come from, and why are they still weighing me down? So Heal or Die was that ultimatum that I brought myself to in this point in my life, because that's what it was. And going through Heal or Die, I capture a lot of my mental health process and a lot of where my spiritual process was. And I even had a bout with self-harm in Heal or Die. So it kind of gives the type just a different feeling. And that's in all of the traumas that I had faced and everything that I had put myself through and come to the awareness of, that's what it was. It was heal or die. You're either going to choose to heal, or you're just going to fester and you're going to dwindle away, and you're just going to repeat patterns, and just your toxicity you're going to become victim to your own toxicity. And having been that for my entire life, I was ready to accept a new version of myself, a new version of life. And Heal or Die was an integral part of that process in helping me let go. And so really that's what it was, just releasing a lot of these painful traumas that have been plaguing me for a while. And so just coming to that realization and being ready to move on with my process, being ready to move on with my life, and just being ready to be happy. You know what I'm saying? And so as wild as that sounds, you know, it's like, why wouldn't anybody want to be happy? You know, trust me, when you're a toxic person for your whole life, happiness could be the scariest thing you ever come across, because you don't know what that feel like. You don't know what it is. It's like, what, you know, some people would rather be comfortable with their own toxicity than to embrace the unknown of happiness that they have, you know. And so that's where I came, was being ready to accept happiness and being able to let go of that broken, fragmented, woe is me state of mind, you know, just a victim of my own foolishness. So yeah, heal or die.
Man. So before we let you go, I know it's Sunday, it's a family day.
You good?
Anybody got any last questions?
I just wanted to ask him two quick questions. I mean, they're quick. One, you know, give me like two artists you would love to do a song with.
Oh.
And then the follow-up is, if Tekashi 6ix9ine's people came to you and offered, you know, 65 bands, you know, you get an album with him or what? You get on the track with him, you giving him 16?
You know what's wild, man? All right. See, this is what comes with being in a new place, right?
Hold on. Before you answer, do not Akon yourself right now.
And that's exactly what I was like. This feel like Vlad now, man. I was like, this feel like Vlad now. I was like, nah, let me not disrespect B-side like that, first of all. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate that.
I just, no. To answer the question, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Getting on or track or whatever. And I heard Akon's response to it or whatever, and I can see it through his lens. You know what I'm saying? It's not saying I agree with it, but I can at least step through your perception and kind of like, okay, that's why you think that way. And that's cool. You know, that's how Akon rocks. Me personally, I'm a big energy person. I don't want to subjugate myself to being around that kind of energy, you know, because putting myself around that kind of energy, or just even mingling with it, or even entertaining it, that taints my vibration. You know, that taints where I'm at. So beyond like, oh, you know, being the public figure thing and just how street code is viewed, and there's a bunch of different things that go into the 6ix9ine situation. But
Right.
just standing from a distance, it's not energy that feels good to me.
Jay,
And so,
Jay.
yeah.
Let's cut the shit. Akon got a bag. Let's cut the shit here. Akon got a nice bag for that.
Yeah, he did. He got a nice bag for that, and if that's what Akon needs, then that's what Akon needs. I'm like, but in terms of what I need in my life, like I can't, even for the bag. And see, that's the point I've come to in my life. It's like shit just isn't about money anymore. You know what I mean? Like I look at money doesn't have that power over me. You know what I mean? You can't just come throw a number at me and be like, and expect me to jump on something, because I don't view money that way no more. I've detached from how I used to. Money used to be it, and just being an entrepreneur, that's part of your power, is being able, how do you utilize this currency? But for me, when where I'm at right now, it's bigger than money. You know what I mean? And it's just, that's not energy that I want to be associated with. I want to be around. It doesn't feel like good energy. And so just beyond, the fuckery and the trolling and the stunts and whatever, and how you score clout for whatever you do. That's how you decide to move. That's how you gonna listen. That's your life. Do what you do. Just understand it comes with consequences, and you'll have to deal with those in whatever time or fashion. In terms of myself, same thing. Who you associate yourself with and your decisions, that also comes with consequences. And person on energy, I just don't want to subjugate myself to being immersed in that kind of energy. I don't feel good things will come of it. So where I'm at with it.
So, where can people find your music, man? If they want to get in contact with you, they want to book with you, where can they find your stuff at?
Man, I'm on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook. It is J Official, JXXII Official. And it is just J on all of the music platforms, Spotify, iTunes, Tidal, whatever, what have you. All of the streaming platforms, it's under J. And that's just JXXII.
Man, I appreciate you, man, on behalf of the B-Side Interviews. On behalf of Productions, Designer Apparel, I really appreciate this interview. Like, you really, once again, you dropped the jewel on us, and we have fun. This was fun. Not too many people make us laugh. You made us laugh.
This was fun. I had the energy felt amazing. Just being around with y'all and just having to hear. Really, I'm big on energy, and so just being here with y'all and just feeling the vibrations you guys are putting out, I felt comfortable, and I'm just glad that you're sharing your time, your energy, and your platform with me. And I'm glad that we got to discuss the topics that we got to discuss. I know some people, it could be difficult to discuss some of these things, but that's not the case for me. I'm glad that we got to talk and to exchange energy here, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Good time.
Enjoy your Sunday, man. Enjoy your Sunday, man. Enjoy the family, and we definitely gonna, we have to bring you back again.
Yes.
Most definitely, man. I really enjoyed our time together, and yes, I'm looking forward to the next time we get together.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great one.
Take care.
Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Awesome.
Sure.
Okay.